All right, welcome back in. Hang with Hester, presented by Richards Honda. Going to have my guy on, Josh Booty now, former LSU football player, of course, Major League Baseball player as well. He did it all. Hey, but Josh, before we get to the questions about Maurice Hampton and him playing two sports and how he's doing, I'm doing radio with Hunt Palmer, who was a Loyola guy. Can you give us your best story of beating down the Loyola Flyers, please?
Why on earth was he playing Loyola?
He played against Loyola.
Evangel used to have to play Loyola on
Yeah.
a yearly basis.
God, I'm glad I didn't go to any of that.
Calvary ended up having to play them. You know, everybody's got to go through those guys at some point if you're in Shreveport. But I don't know. They gave me a lot of problems my junior year. That was for sure. They beat us at Bossier High School in a football game, and what they did was we were in five wides and no backs, and they put two of their receivers at defensive end, and all they did was high rush me, and I was at 9 yards deep, and I was running around for my life. But we didn't have any, Denny at Evangel. We didn't have any. We didn't have a second. We didn't have a backup plan, Jacob, for those receivers rushing me high, and they were a little bit faster than I. But it was fun of course, to play all those area schools, and Loyola got us my junior year.
I would have bet everything I have that Loyola did not beat Evangel in football.
They did. And now Evangel was small, and we were 1A at the time. And soon after I left, they went, to 3A and 5A, and they would have smoked Loyola by 70 every time they played. But it was those early years where Loyola had a real chance.
Hey, imagine that, not having a plan for receivers playing defensive end. So it's okay. That's where the 14-yard shotgun must have come from for Evangel. All right, Josh, let's talk some LSU baseball. We're really going to talk one player. Maurice Hampton is a guy, and we've talked about him before with you, is playing multiple sports, playing way more, though, out of the gate than I think any of us could have imagined, and he's holding his own. Now, this is a guy that, just like you, he got drafted turned down, a bunch of money in the Major League Baseball draft, and you're a guy that
I couldn't turn it down.
That's what I was about to say. You're a guy that didn't turn down, but look, they don't offer that money to just anybody. There's a reason they did. So he turns it down and decides to come play college football, come play college baseball. And what kind of pressure do you think? Is there more pressure on him to football? Is there more pressure in baseball because he turned the baseball money down?
Probably a little bit more on baseball because he's saying, okay, I turned down a good bit of money, and I've got to be able to go there and at least play baseball. Well, I know they're stockpiled at football athletes across the board. It might take me a year or two to win a position battle, but in baseball, when you're drafted high and you're considered a prospect, and when you show up on campus, and LSU baseball programs as good as they are, and the traditional power that they are, I mean, you want to go there and win a job, especially if he's an elite athlete, which he is. Coming in, mindset is, I'm a better athlete than all these guys that are on that baseball field. I'm a football player. I can show my work just in pure athleticism. So I think there is a bit of some pressure there to, not only play, but to play well. You got to get on the field first, and then you got to play well when you get on the field. And baseball's such an individual sport. And Jacob, you played it all growing up, and I watched you guys play Little League all growing up with JD, but it's such an individual sport. Football, you rely on everybody around you, the play calling, the system, the QB maybe getting you the ball, the different things that go along with football. It's a team sport. Baseball, it's pitcher versus, first hitter, and you got to go up there and have your at-bats. You have your own stats. It's not team stats, and people flash them up on the big board, and it's like, man, so there is some pressure there, especially right out of the gate, to be a good baseball player. If you're drafted and everybody goes, this is the guy that's, could have been in the minor leagues playing and working his way to the big leagues, and he's still here. So, there is some pressure there for sure.
I can tell you one thing that would probably wear on me is just his schedule, because we all know when you're a freshman in either sport, baseball or football, it's the longest year of your life because you feel like you just never stop in that freshman season. Well, he didn't get a break. I mean, he's still, he goes over, works with the football team as well, and he goes across the street and plays baseball, and you don't really ever have that break. And so that freshman wall that everybody hits, well, Maurice Hampton doesn't have that opportunity because it doesn't stop.
Yeah, and you add school in with that, but you also got to consider that's what he's done his whole life. He's probably been a 3 or 4 sports star with track or basketball. I don't know what all he did at the high school level, but he's used to going, football and going over the baseball field, and maybe throwing long toss or hitting in the cage at night and going back over. that's what we did when we were young. If you're a two-sport guy and can play at that type of level, buddy, you got to put twice the work in, and to be successful at either one of them. And he's such a successful guy at the high school level that he got the opportunity to play at a big-time university that has both unbelievable baseball program and an unbelievable football program. So yeah, he's used to putting the work in. And now you add the school, you add the strength and conditioning. We know how hard that is at the college level when you got to go over there and work out with Moffitt boys and to put that work in. But man, he's going to mature super fast because he's getting double the work in. He's dealing with a whole nother coaching staff, you're competing in a different game. And that's why I think it's great for young kids to play two sports growing up, or three. And Burrow did it, or we've been talking about Burrow a lot lately this year with the point guard stuff and basketball and how it translates, and Mahomes and all that, the stuff that the two sports stars bring to the table. But it helps him in both sports to cross the line and play the other one, just because of the different type of skills that it requires. So he's doing a lot of stuff early at LSU, and it's got to be fun for him.
Yeah, well, Josh, I was going to kind of go where Jacob went in terms of you don't get a break. It's nice once the season's over to kind of exhale and relax and get your break, but he doesn't get it. And then I started thinking as you were answering, maybe it's a good thing because you're not going to get burned out. You don't have to go straight from the rigors of football right back into football training. You can kind of go do something a little bit different that does something a little bit different mentally.
I agree. A breath of fresh air, even though you got to compete and work hard. It's it's a change up, and I always like change and moving around, doing different things, and that's what's it's what life's all about: having fun, enjoying the different things that you're doing, and not getting burnt out. And I think it probably does bring some of that peace to him just internally. Is like, okay, I can go out and play baseball. I got a whole new set of friends. This is fun. It's new. It's fresh. It's a different type of competing, and he gets to play another game that he absolutely loves, and he can pour his heart into that. And then when it's time to go back and play spring football at the end of baseball, or in the middle of baseball, then he gets to go back over there and be with his football buddies. And how fun is that? I mean, he's actually living the life that everyone would love to live, to be honest with you. I mean, guys like Tebow are still trying to do that kind of thing, play another sport. So the ultimate athletes and guys that could get it done. Kyler Murray was one. Jameis Winston did it at Florida State. Deion Bowe, we all know those names. I mean, those are the guys that everybody kind of envies because they get to do what not many people get to do, and that's the fun part of playing multiple sports and being talented in two.
Josh Booty is our guest here on Hanging with Hester. Hey, let's transition to football. I want to ask you this question because I'll tell you my thought process. Would you name a starting quarterback right now and go all in behind him, or would you have a quarterback competition, even though it might not be a competition, with LSU's quarterbacks? Because for me, I'll tell you my answer. I would let Miles Brennan know he is my guy. This is your team. Take this team over and show me that you can be a leader.
Yeah, I would like to see. I'm not around the practices as much as you guys are. I'd love to see what he brings to the table every day from a leadership standpoint. It's like when Burrow showed up, from a leadership standpoint, he vaulted himself to the top. And so, if Brennan's got those qualities and that he can vault himself to the top, I would. If I didn't know that if I still had question marks, I love competition, and I think competition breeds success. I think, I go back to USC a lot because my brother was there and Matt Leinart was there and Matt Castle was there, Sanchez was there, Mark, and they had an unbelievable competition on a daily basis, and I think it made everybody better. But when it was time to name the starter and Leinart won the job, they went all in, and you've got to get behind your guy. And Pete Carroll was that type of guy. But I do like the way that they competed up until the time where they knew that the guy had to be this guy, and he was an upperclassman in Matt Leinart, and he took the job from all those guys that were a lot younger. But at the same time, you got to go with the one that you feel the most comfortable with, that can handle the offense, that shows up to practice every day and is competitive and is consistent, the most consistent guy that can take you to the right place, and now we're all spoiled with what Burrow did. So Miles got a good big job ahead of him. But I like competition unless you absolutely know.
Josh Booty hanging with Hester here on a Thursday. Josh, let's hit the rewind button. Go back to when you were in high school in the mid-'90s and LSU was terrible. You went and played baseball, and then you came and played for some pretty good football teams here. But if I would have told you when you were in high school and then right when you stepped on campus at LSU with Coach Saban, I said, this program over the next 20 years, they're going to play for 4 titles and win 3. Would you believe that?
Probably not, to be honest with you. If you just said the baseball program was going to play for double that, I would have believed that. I would have believed that over the other because Skip Bertman had the LSU baseball team in such a great place. I really signed with LSU to, play shortstop, and then I was going to go try to do both, and was a high football recruit. But I really wanted to play baseball. Todd Walker was my guy. Growing up, we were good friends. His grandparents lived across the street. He had such a great experience. I'm like, I want to be the next, Todd Walker and play shortstop like Russ Johnson did at LSU. Those were the guys that I looked, at and when I was getting recruited. So that was the reason that I ultimately signed with LSU, was because the baseball team had just come off a national championship season in '93. Curly Hallman was there. I knew football was not in a good place. I did figure that I could play early in football because I think Jamie was a senior and he was playing baseball with the Braves, and he had had a shoulder injury. Anyways, long story short, I felt like I could play both, but the real reason I came to LSU was to play under Skip Bertman, and I wish I would have got that opportunity because he's such a great guy.
All right, Josh, I know you're busy today. I appreciate your time, as always, my man.
And thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it, Jacob. Y'all have a good day.